We ask right now, Father, as we go into this meeting, you be with us. Let us make the best decision for our citizens. Thank you right now for what you've done and what you're going to do. Father, we also praying right now for the trouble of this land. We're praying right now for those that are hurting, and we thank you now. Calm hearts, calm minds, and please, we ask you, please, Lord, help us as we go through this troubled time right now. Thank you for what you're going to do and what you've done thus far. These blessings and all other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm unmuted.
Just before we get into our meeting, we always have a few housekeepers. Let you know that a conference line has been set up. And that number is 1-917-900-1022. The access code is 3234-7 pound sign. This is not a toll-free number, and you may be subject to long-distance charges according to your long-distance plan. When the chairperson opens the meeting for public comments, please follow the instructions. Please dial 5. The monitor will unmute your line when it's your turn to speak and notify you by announcing the last 4 digits of your telephone number. Please announce your name and address, and you will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Any person wishing to address the board regarding an agenda item will be given 3 minutes to speak. The commenter may speak only once for each agenda item. With that being said, we'll go to number 3 and ask for the approval of the agenda.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The 4th thing on our agenda is the audit presentation 2019-2020. Mr. Richard Powell.
As always, it's a pleasure to work with the county, but a pleasure to deliver the annual audit. The report, I think you have in your packet, gets hundreds of pages almost every year. So as I have for the last several years, I have a PowerPoint that is highlights. It references the pages, so at any point or at the end, I'll be happy to go to the actual page in the audit. Okay, so the first section is the audit opinion. It states that we conducted a full financial audit of the county, which includes the board and each of the 5 constitutional officers. The audit was conducted in accordance with applicable auditing standards that include financial auditing standards, the government auditing standards, federal single audit standards, and state single audit standards because of the volume of state and federal grants that we have this year. Okay, the next page, the audit objective. Okay, our objective is to express an unmodified, clean opinion on the financial statements. And the county has this highest level of assurance, which is a good reflection on the quality of the financial records and internal control procedures of the board and the constitutional officers. So the next section, which is on page 11-17, is the management's discussion and analysis. This section contains certain required overview information on the county due to the fact that it is derived from the financial statements. In the interest of time, I request that you read this section on your own, and I will go directly to the pertinent financial statements. Okay, the county, obviously being a government, operates under governmental fund accounting, and it has actually three types of funds, and the first, the main funds, are the governmental funds. And so we'll first look at the balance sheet of the governmental funds, okay? So the county maintains 41 governmental funds, which include 9 major funds listed separately on the statement on page 22, 32 non-major funds that are shown separately on the pages 89 and 90 and shown as a total on the statement on page 22. Okay, the balance sheet is a snapshot financial view of the funds at the end of the fiscal year, which was September 30, 2021. Highlights are as follows. Okay, so general fund is the main operating fund of the county, so I'll always reference it and then show a total. Okay, so the total assets of the general fund were $12,747,602. Total liabilities, $331,624. So now fund balances are cash reserves. The total is $12,415,978. Some are restricted, but the assigned and the unassigned are basically the unrestricted reserves under control of the board. And always look and see what percent of your normal expenditures are those two funds, which is right at $12 million. They represent 78.2% of your general fund expenditures, which equates to about 9.7 months of expenditures. So you have healthy reserves there. All the governmental funds is at $33,354,880. Total liabilities $4,443,224. The total fund balances are $28,911,656. But you can see that the majority of those reserves have restrictions on them, usually legal restrictions, so they can't be spent except as provided by the laws or the ordinances that have been placed on those funds. So the next slide is the governmental funds statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And again, the general fund, the revenues were $16,456,763. Expenditures, $15,226,681. So in this year, there was an excess revenue over expenditures of $1,230,082. Which is, you can say, was that excess as a percent of revenue, 7.47. Comparing it to the prior year, the net change was positive 624,479. That was a 4%. We kind of look at the capital outlay in each year, and it's been kind of consistent for general fund. This year, 686,506, prior year, 410,186. So you had a little bit bigger excess in this year, probably attributable to the COVID grant funds that were received in excess of the prior year. But you clearly increased your reserves for general fund by 1.2 million. Overall, for all the governmental funds, the excess was $4,084,890, which was about 10.5% of revenues. So there's a net change, $2,865,886. And of course, in these funds, these are mainly special revenue funds, that while that increased the reserves, the majority of that increase is probably restricted revenues. But if these funds are the ones that you spend a majority of your capital outlay, there being in this year, 2021, your capital outlay was about 6.9 million, prior year 6.2 million. These are the funds that have grants in there, but you can see that over the 2 years, you had about 13 million in capital improvements, which means you're keeping up with your infrastructure. Okay, the next slide, proprietary enterprise funds. The enterprise fund is to fully operate from user charges so that you don't the board doesn't have to defray these operations with general revenues. And in your county, you have one fund, the Airport Enterprise Fund. And so on the next slide, you can see that total assets, $270,447. Total liabilities, $34,083. Here, your net position is your net worth, kind of. Your total net worth is $236,364. 91,000 is invested in your capital assets, and the unrestricted amount, 144,818, is approximately the same as the unassigned fund balance in general fund, and that represents about 63% of your total expenditures, which is about 8 months of airport enterprise expenses. Okay, so the next page shows in this year, and here again, your intent, this operates under business accounting principles, and your intent is to operate at least even, hopefully you make a little bit of excess, which increases your reserves. And this year, the revenue is $231,595, expenses $227,505. So you went a little bit more than even you were positive, $4,090. At the bottom, it shows that the cash actually increased by $23,613. And you ask how could that be? Is because these have business accounting principles, and the operating expenses includes depreciation, which is not a cash expense. Okay, so the next page shows your capital assets, and these are fairly substantial. Again, we'll look at governmental and business, governmental enterprise. So your total governmental assets are $183,282,495. Accumulated depreciation, the amount that's been used up, $100,713,763. So the net governmental assets, $82,568,732, and that means that your assets are about 55% depreciated, which I would place as kind of average for counties your size that I'm aware of. But that also shows you that the reason that you need to keep building reserves is that $100 million will eventually have to be replaced. Business type assets, again, much smaller. The net assets, $91,546. These assets are only about 43% depreciated. So overall, your assets increased a little bit, which means that you had more capital outlay than you recorded depreciation. Again, you have, they're about 55% depreciated overall, which is about the same as the prior year. So it means you're not getting further, I won't say in the hole, but you're at least staying even. So that is good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Explain to me again the business type activities,
It's the airport enterprise.
just the airport?
That's all you have here, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so, the next page shows the debt, and here there's some very good news, I'll tell you. Okay, so you have no bond issues or loans or anything. You have capital leases, which are 511,917. I think that's mainly, road maintenance equipment. You have compensated absences, 642,470. And your, share of the FRS net liability, 5,783,489. Now, if we had last year's, it would have been like 20 million, but in this 1 year, and it was due to a very good stock performance, that this calculated liability, but in this 1 year, your share decreased $14.6 million. So it shows how things, actuarial studies, but also I want to say the return that FRS had last year was close to 30%. So,
Well, next year's all right.
but that is, but you're right. You're right. It'll take good news when you have it. So, but what that means is that the state doesn't have an excuse to keep raising rates if it keeps up that type of performance, and you probably won't. Okay, the next slide is the single audit and compliance section. So, audit procedures required by government auditing standards go beyond just financial issues and include internal control over financial reporting, compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and related matters. In this report, there were no findings or question calls related to these procedures. And the next page shows the major federal grants and federal and state grants that we had this year. And there were 3 federal grants. Was the end of the fast lane. You had the Old Dixie Highway sidewalks, and you had the balance of the coronavirus relief grant. Then for state grants, the major ones were some SCOP and scrap grants and the voting improvement. This report had no findings or question calls regarding any of those grants. Management letters required by Chapter 10, 550 Rules of the Auditor General, and doesn't contain any findings and recommendations that were not included in the previous report, but items which we wish to make the board aware of. In this letter, there were no prior year findings. There were no reportable findings in the current year for either the board, clerk, property appraiser, sheriff, or supervisor, or tax collector. So that's very commendable. Finally, on the last page, we're required to perform audit procedures in the following areas. Investment of public funds by both the board and constitutional officers, E911 grant compliance, clerk's court-related budgetary compliance, clerk's compliance with state court performance standards. We performed those procedures and had no findings of question costs. So, any questions? I'll be pleased to answer.
This all sounds good to me.
Oh, it was a positive year, and it's been a trend that we should all strive and hope to get to continue.
Well, you ought to be proud of this, right?
Yes, sir.
The people you got in place is doing their job.
Yes, sir. If we had any recommendations or any findings, we would have given them.
Said a lot in a few minutes. Any questions? Ms. Miller?
Yeah, I'm just very pleased.
We are as well.
Thank you so very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the audit.
Motion, have a motion.
Motion.
All in favor, saying aye? Good. Motion passes.
Our firm greatly appreciates working with Taylor Kim, and I appreciate the early time slot too. So,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. We go to item number 5, the consent agenda. There's a lot on our consent agenda. Is anyone see anything on our consent agenda we take off, talk about, or if not, I entertain a
Motion
motion.
to approve.
Number 7.
You wanna take it off? And look at that?
I was, no, I just want to discuss it when the time comes.
Okay. So go ahead and have a motion. You had a motion, right?
Yes.
I think we want to discuss this, and then we probably,
Who wants to discuss it, you need to take it off of the consent
And put it in.
agenda, and then
All right, good.
approve the
Number
rest of
7.
the consent agenda, and then do yours, your comments. Mr. Moody, that's the way I would do it.
Okay. Make a motion to take it off, this was,
Okay, so we have a motion to take it off. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, we take number 7 off. All right, the other part,
Could I just clarify an item that's on the consent agenda, item number 13? I noticed that some of the language was in conflict. I'm asking for approval of a budget transfer for $30,000. In the paragraph below, I mentioned $20,000. I just want to make it clear that we'd like to transfer $30,000.
okay, I got 30,000 on 13.
It's $30,000 total for item number 13, yes, sir. Thank you.
Motion, second? Second. All in favor, saying aye? Okay. Consent agenda passed. Now, is it time for us to talk about number 7, we want to, Mr. Bishop?
that'd be fine.
Go ahead.
What, the development authority is asking for $100,000. And I was looking through the package here, they've got $268,000 in reserve right now. If I'm reading it right.
Is a portion of that, for their, so unrestricted is 194,907, and, invested in capital assets is 73,887.
So this,
Go ahead.
so this 100,000 was approved in our budget last year, and they're just asking for release of it. It's already been approved.
I mean, that might be approved and all, but I was just wondering what the need was for that money to be put into that account. We already had money in the account. That's what I was,
Well, one thing, that we don't have a developed director. I think the person that's doing a good job, but sometimes we don't need a director. We need somebody in that account to really pay somebody to be a director.
well, they have some things that they spent for here, they're, you know, the secretary and certain things, but it didn't mount up to that kind of money, is what I, you know, I'm just trying to clarify that, get that out so I can understand it a little better.
Chairperson, I believe this is the second year they have not had a director. Is that accurate?
Yes,
At least the second year. So that might be what you're seeing.
that's what
Okay.
But I'm just trying to keep.
That's okay, that's okay.
You know,
That's what we're here for, get an understanding. Understanding one of the best things in the world. Okay.
so I need to make a motion to put it back on the agenda.
All approved.
motion to approve it.
You got a motion?
Yeah.
second.
Motion second, that we send $100,000 to TCDS. Okay, all right. We go to item number 22, bid and public hearing. The board to receive bids for the sale of the county-owned property located at Keaton Beach. Set for this date at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as possible.
We received one, and it says it's from H.B. Tootin and L. Thomas.
It's from who?
It says H.B. Tootin and L. Thomas.
Pete and Beach property.
Beach property. $83,500.
Go ahead.
If I may, and this is going to come back up closer to the end of the meeting, but just to bring it to the board's attention, the appraisal on that lot was $145,000. And that appraisal was as of 10/25/2021.
That's for both of them?
No, sir.
That's the one.
And from what I recall, the board did not take a formal position of whether you wished to, the low bid to be greater or equal to the appraisal value, but just wanted to make the board aware of that.
And I'd like to reject it.
I'm not in favor of selling any property that has access to the water that we own. But if this board does go ahead with that, I think that at least it should be equal to the appraised amount. After all, it was my understanding that it was put on that was put up for sale because we wanted to put it on the tax roll. So why would we put it on the tax roll for half of what it's worth, or a third of what it's worth, or whatever it equals out to?
Any more comment?
We in a situation we don't have to accept the bid. Well, understood.
Reject it.
I mean,
What do you say, Mr. Bishop?
You can reject the bid. Have that right.
So that bid was with those individuals together, H.B. Tootin and L. Thomas?
I'm gonna say yes, because their both names are on the envelope.
I would make a motion that we not accept the bids and that we, well, just that we not accept the bid.
Reject the bid.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion second, and we do not accept the bid. Ready for vote? All in favor? Okay. We reject the bid. Then what do we do now?
That was my question. If there was any further instruction.
I'd say we should hang on to any property that we have that has access to the water. There are so few properties that, unless we were in dire straits and really needed to sell that property, I think, my opinion is that we need to hang on to those that have that water access.
I think we went down the path to sell these lots, so we owe it to the individuals that put in the bids to put their bid, and they kind of let them know our stance of the appraisal and.
I think out of the board's position at the time, we asked them to. Didn't you get some appraisal?
We did receive appraisals. So were you suggesting that after you've received the bid that you want to re-advertise?
Did these folks doing the bidding, did they know that what this appraised at and ours, that we were gonna be looking at?
I don't believe the board had a stance at that time that you would only accept the appraisal price. That was not part of the advertisement from what I recall.
Well, it wasn't very fair when we advertised it at that point.
Well, the appraisal is public record.
It was.
Appraisals, if they vetted it, they could look at the appraisal.
It was in the newspaper. The appraisal law was?
I can understand wanting to bid less than the appraisal. I can understand that, but It's a lot less than the appraisal.
So we reject it. We gonna put it back out. Re-advertise it?
We need to,
I think we need
We got a motion on that?
I'll second.
motion.
Got a motion second that we re-advertise it. What's gonna be our stipulation? Ask for more?
That's my question. Under what circumstances do you wish to re-advertise?
If we're looking to get no less than the appraised value, then we need to advertise that we're selling this lot at this amount.
So you wish to set a minimum?
You can set the minimum of the appraisal value.
Minimum.
I guess the minimum would be this rate.
Okay.
So what are you saying, to advertise it for at least the appraised value?
Yeah.
And what about, how much money have we spent on it? Do we need to recoup that?
Appraised and surveyed.
Say again?
It was appraised and surveyed.
Yes, I
So
mean,
the taxpayer
whatever
had
that,
that much in cost.
whatever that cost is, add that on to it if that's what y'all gonna do.
I'm willing to just leave it at the 145 at the appraised value, and
And it was more than we was getting started. The other one getting up, right?
158.
One,
That's your motion second.
145.
145.
Okay. 145 is what you said?
I believe so.
Okay. So we'll re-advertise. Did we get we got a motion and a second.
I made a motion.
And all in favor saying aye? Aye.
No,
And a no from me.
Okay, 2 noes and 3 yeses. Advertise. All right. Public request, the board to consider approval of request for the improvement of Hampton Springs dog, park line dog leash. The park is requested by Sabrina Cornell, Councilor Brady.
Sabra, it's Sabra. And I'm
Sabra?
done. Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm done. I just need to stop right here. Hey. Okay, hey, you guys, I want to apologize, Mr. Gibbs, to you because I did not call you when you are my commissioner. So I
Okay.
apologize that I didn't, let you know, to get the little cards in order, put my glasses on for you guys. You know, I got here today and basically got my answer, what I needed. But I made this little presentation, spent some time with it, and I thought, okay, I'm here. So y'all go get to hear me. What this is, back in, I want to say like February, March, let me back up. This all started with my dog. I have a dog with a disability. For the past,
What?
a dog with a disability,
Okay,
okay? For the past 10 plus years, I've been to that park at least once a week with my dog, okay? We go, if there's no one in the park, I do let the dog out of the park without a leash on. Always have leashes in my hand. I mean, you know, common sense. Back in late February, and I had been told this may come, I was told by the park host that I couldn't bring my dog there anymore. So before I got mad, did a conflict, whatever, I shut my mouth, I said, okay, they told me that I could go across the road. So I did that, and, across the road's nice, it's shady, you know, there's some trails over there. The problem that I had is that people like to dump their carcass out over there. So, you know, the dogs, they love to roll and stuff like that. Not only that, I'm a little concerned about running up on a dead body or a live body. And snakes, it's getting warmer and I'm concerned about it. I was gonna come tonight and ask that you guys let me and my dogs back in the park. And when I got here, I was told that there is an ordinance that I can take the dogs, but they have to be on a leash. Yay, so that was a small victory before I ever got here. However, the history was that when my baby that I have now came, it was obvious that something was wrong. I left the vet's office that day that I found out that she had hip dysplasia and a bad leg. She's never gonna walk on a leash as a structured walk around the block. She's never gonna chase a ball, she's never gonna catch a frisbee. She's just not gonna do these things. So I stepped up my visits to the park 4 or 5 times a week, just so she could go at her own pace. And she had the water as a motivation. We get down to the park, we get the water. So that was great. And then I was told I couldn't go anymore. So that was very surprising. I don't know to this day what the official reason that lady told me that I couldn't bring the dogs, okay? There were signs posted there that no dogs allowed at all. Now, so with that being said, I had an idea about maybe building a dog park, just fencing off a little small section from the south side of the property line, a little dog run. You put a gate on by the parking lot, a gate down by the creek, carry signs that say you are responsible, County's not responsible for your dog getting hurt, whatever. And I thought, you know, that sounds good, but I asked Google, and I don't know facts, figures, linear, square feet, conversions, whatever, but when I asked Google, Google told me that for like under $5,000, we can build a dog park. And I thought, okay, well now how are we gonna pay for this? I'd be silly to think that I would ask the county to pay $5,000 for my little dog park. Well, I sat down like in March of 18, and in the news here, I learned about all these grant monies that you guys have been getting for the jail and for, even $50,000 for the Southside Park, $200,000 for the sports complex, and I began to feel a little forgotten, basically. A few days later, the governor, he approved the budget money for ecotourism and creek bank revitalization, and I thought, we ought to be able to get something done. Okay, so because I like to dream big, I thought maybe we could build a dog park. Maybe we could get some of that grant money and clean out the boat ramp. Maybe we could put up a non-skid surface across that bridge and the sidewalk, because they're really sleek when it's wet in the morning. Maybe we could do something like cut the dead limbs out of the oak trees down there. Just make some general improvements to the park itself. And there is a diggy, everybody here knows that that pool is collapsing, that it is a liability. So I just was gonna suggest maybe we just tear it all the way out, get rid of it. Back in place so that we build something like a splash pad or a graduated waterfall, something, something nice. I thought maybe we could even do like outdoor lighting, for not, straying through the trees, and then have you guys could maybe rent the park out at night for parties, weddings, receptions, things of that nature to generate some revenue for the area. And then across the street, that area is also not being utilized. Maybe you could put, if you wanted to do a pavilion like what's at Fourth Capitol Park, right? You want to just do RV parks. We could get some revenue coming in that way as well. So, I'm not even going to mention the alligator. We're not even going to talk about that. I just wanted to, ask you guys, could I please take my dog to the park? And I was found that I could, so that's a victory. But since I was here, it would be nice to have some improvements to the park. I feel like we've been kind of forgotten over there on the west side. There's not many places that people can swim, gather, recreate. We have the park host down there to, make sure we don't have the crazies or the redneck drinking binges or whatever the place is known for. Instead, it'd be nice to have a place that we could go and swim, recreate, things like that. And, anyway, that's what I had. I just thought I'd present you guys and ask what y'all found. So that's about all I had. And thank you guys for letting me speak. I know I've given you a little bit to think about. And I'll be willing to help, like as far as suggestions. I don't know anything about writing grants, but I can try. Whatever we need to do, you guys. That's all I have.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right. Y'all have a great evening.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm talking to this.
That's it.
I apologize. Number 21 that was on the consent item, I just want to let y'all know that I read through that grant. They're getting more stricter and more stricter, if that's a word, on these grants. They can terminate this at their convenience. They can terminate for lack of funds. And the venue is Indiana. And of course, if there's a lawsuit, we gotta go to Indiana.
You wanna go in there?
Not particularly.
Depends on the time of year, right?
I just want y'all to be aware of that. You know, I think it's kind of a sole source thing. It appears that they're pretty proud of their 911 stuff, you know, but I just wanted y'all to be aware of that.
Is
in other
there
words-
a way to stipulate something outside of Indiana?
Yeah. I think we need to get along good with them with this, you know, and not get in litigation.
We can change it to Florida. We're allowed.
Just asking. I mean,
No, this might be a Leon County, wait a minute.
I don't know of anywhere I can stay in Indiana, so if it was Florida, it might be a little bit.
This might be, let's see, wait a minute, let me make sure, this is a 50,000.
55,000.
Wait a minute, I may be mistaken, there's another one that's got Indiana.
It is.
Yeah.
It's 29. That's 24.
It has got, well, it does have on 12.3 on page 6 of this, agreement. It says termination for agreement, and this is with the state, it's not with, the department may terminate this agreement for convenience when it determines that it's in its sole discretion that continuing the agreement would not produce beneficial results in line with the further expenditures of fund by providing the grantee with 30 days prior notice. I have never seen one of these grants where they can terminate it at their convenience. They can terminate with lack of funds, you know, we talked about that many times over the time. And of course, Leon County is, there's another one that's got the Indiana, we'll talk about that later. But I just don't know about that. I don't know what flannel-mouth lawyer put that one in there. You understand, it's probably from Philadelphia.
So almost, newspaper gonna carry that story. What do you call it?
Philadelphia lawyer.
Okay. You're going to shop lawyers up there.
Yeah, well, they think they're gonna get it past this old country lawyer, and they're not gonna get it past me. But anyway,
What do you think we should do? Set it,
you know, that's the problem with the grants. Now, with a contract, you know, like for instance, you know, we can dicker with them and say, well, we're not gonna do it. But if you say, well, we're not gonna accept the grant, then we say, bye, you know. The one thing that I want everybody to understand, and everybody out here in the audience, a grant is not free money. A grant is giving you back and the citizens tax money,
Yeah.
you know? And they're so afraid that, you know, that something's gonna go wrong and so forth. So they write these grant contracts that are, you know, you just got a really great audit, right? Okay? I guess everybody else doesn't get a great audit like that. You see what I'm saying? So, but anyway, just terminating it at their convenience, I think that's a bunch of baloney. And I tell them to their face. And y'all know I would, wouldn't I?
You gotta go to Indiana to tell them.
We're gonna talk about the Indiana a little bit. That ain't
That's a
Indiana.
different one.
On Teams or FaceTime, I don't know.
Well, like I said, I apologize for, you know, it was right at the top of my page, not at the bottom. So I'm done
Okay.
complaining.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I mean, y'all
Number
can.
24, we just discussed 24.
Yes, that's me. And Conrad, in reference to that, William County is going to continue being stricter and stricter every year. We'll have to amend my contract with AK every year now, if not twice a year.
Well, okay, I'm saying okay, but I'm gonna make my statement about them.
You feel the same way?
Okay.
All right, my item was over the Mevo phones and moving forward with next gen 911 support services.
Yes, ma'am. Number 24?
Yes.
Oh, this is new gen?
Next gen, of course, not that, you've got my maintenance grant. Number 24 is next gen.
Yeah, new gen, you're right. Yeah, that's the one that's got the Indiana stuff in it.
And you, Miss Katie Morrison?
Yes, So in 2019, we visited with the Mevo phones with the backup 911 system, and after it got approved, I tabled it. A lot of these big counties were a bit trepidatious about the overlap of bills. That has not been as big a problem as people thought. Now, we still don't have a backup 911 system. We still need one. This is very ideal, and now that we're having this 911 mobile command, we can take it county to county to assist or move in natural disasters. And the state is requiring also that in 2022, next-gen core services become implemented. So this would cover both of them with a sole source.
Okay, one's 29,898. That's yours, number 24.
Yes, sir.
And number 21, 65,000.
$29,898.51.
Okay. You asking us to approve it?
Yes, sir.
Motion, second.
Oh. Yes, sir, go ahead, Mr. Bishop.
Why don't y'all listen to this? Limitations of liability, exclusion of damages in no event will Ingetel or
And digital.
whatever, or any of its licensors, service providers, or suppliers be liable under or in connection with the agreement, including these terms, or its subject matter under any legal or equitable theory, including breach of contract, tort, including negligence, strict liability, or otherwise. Also, 12.2, cap on monetary liability. In no event will the aggregate liability of Ingetel, did I pronounce that right now? Ingetel? In digital. Okay, got a G in there, right?
Yeah.
And its licensors, suppliers, and service providers arising out or related to this agreement, including these terms, whether arising under or related to the breach of contract, tort, including negligence, strict liability, or any other legal or equitable theory, exceed the total amount paid to Ingetel under the agreement in 12-month period. Limit their liability what's paid in 12 months. Baloney. Then jurisdiction. This is the one where they say this any loss. This is on 15.11. Jurisdiction. The agreement, including these terms, is governed and construed in accordance with the internal laws of the state of Indiana, without giving effect to any choice or conflict of law, provision, or rule that would permit or require the application of the laws of any jurisdiction other than the state of Indiana. Any legal suit, action, or proceeding arising out or related to the agreement will be instituted exclusively in the federal courts of the United States District Court of the Northern District, should be of Florida, but it says of Indiana, or courts of the state of Indiana, in each case located in the city of Fort Wayne in the county of Allen. So we would be, we would be up there doing that. 15.12, waiver of jury trial. I don't like to waive a jury trial, but I might if I was having to go to Indiana, because they would probably laugh at my exam. So, just be aware of that. Now, as I understand it, and I may have misread this, these are probably the only folks that we can deal with on this, because it's kind of a new system that they're doing.
Their backup 911 is the only one of its kind.
That's what I'm saying. And the physical impact is $29,898.51. But if you ever get one with really big stuff, then I'd even be yelling louder.
Okay.
Is there anyone else or any way that we could amend or adjust these terms in this contract?
That would be Stacy.
This is just our standard boilerplate contract, and I'm happy to send you a copy that you can go through and change or suggest some language changes. And then what we do is we'll send it to our legal folks and see if they approve. And if they do, then we can make the changes that you need.
Good for you. I appreciate that. What y'all can do is y'all can pass it on contingent of that we get it, that I have the ability to send my suggestions to you. You'll give our county administrator your contact information. She can give you my contact
I'll
information.
amend the motion contingent upon the legal requirements by the Taylor County Council.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye. You got it.
All right, thank you.
Do you have to withdraw the first, motion?
I think I raised my hand before.
So amended?
Yes.
I think I raised my hand before it passed.
Okay. Board to consider approval of that grant amendment, agenda by Jack Smith. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Smith was unable to attend tonight, or I told him it was not necessary. This is a slightly reduced amount from last fiscal year, and we're asking for board approval.
One question. There's no, requirement to go to Indiana for this, is there?
No, sir. I do not believe
I
so.
make a motion to approve.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye. Mr. Jack, we don't have to go to Indiana. Finish.
It's just 30,000 acres,
Just 30,000 acres?
which you're not getting covered,
Right.
for $2,234.05.
No, sir, that's the reduced, it was
Yeah, that's
reduced
the
by that
reduction.
much, it's 36,439.97.
I know you don't understand what I said.
Okay.
You're getting a reduction, so for 30,000 acres, it's $2,234.05. You see what I'm saying?
I'd like to withdraw my second from that.
So my understanding is that there's 2,000 acres less in this, contract amendment, which I believe you have reflected in this cost. Is that fair?
I believe.
30,000 acres.
It says 552,486 acres to 520. So that's the difference of 32,000.
Yes, sir.
Is there, some reason for that amount?
I don't know.
I don't know what, I do not know what the reason is. I did ask the question and did not receive an answer.
That's a lot of acres.
So we can table this until.
Okay, let's do that.
We need to.
Okay.
Okay, number 25. You want to go 26? Board to consider appointment of one member to the Taylor Coastal Water and Sewer District Board as agenda by the North Central District Manager.
She was not, able to attend tonight either.
She is on the phone.
So if you have any questions, she's attending via telephone.
Y'all know how to rank these. One's the best, 2, 3, and 4, and then the one that gets the lowest point total.
One is the best, you say?
Yes, sir. That's what it says. Rank applicants as follows. The best applicant is 1, second is 2, then et cetera. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to sign at the bottom. Yeah, I've got Michael. Yeah. I'll be doing the higher math.
Okay, with it.
The clerk will check me and make sure I get the math right.
All right, we go to, while Mr. Bishop doing that math, 26A. The board to further discuss the project proposal for Resilient Florida Grant Program.
You should have a packet at your desk labeled 26A. Staff has reviewed the grant application and made changes sent to, or suggested edits. Basically, staff provided edits, which basically removed all references to language used for FEMA flood mapping. Swanee River Water Management District has accepted our edits, so our recommendation is to move forward with the application for the vulnerability analysis tool. They will be asking for a letter of support, which I would need approval because I believe the deadline is.
1 second.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
County staff, the board to consider approval of amendment 2, the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement, financial project, big numbers, and adopting authorizing a resolution for the Sierra Foley Airport design and repair for runway 1230 lighting and signage project as agendaed by the grant writer.
Motion to read the resolution by title only.
Motion second, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Bishop?
Well, let's see here. Caught me right in the middle of my cycling. We're on 28, 27, and there's a resolution at the end of my packet here. I think I got it right here. I got it.
That?
Yes, sir. This is one that really doesn't have a big title. It says, whereas the Taylor County Board of County Commissioners and the State of Florida Department of Transportation have determined it to be in their mutual interest to facilitate the development of the herein described project at the Perry Taylor Foley Airport, to wit, Perry Foley Airport Design and Rehab Runway 12-30 Lighting and Signage Amendment to Grant Agreement Financial Management Project number. I'm not gonna read the number, unless you want me to read the number.
Okay.
Motion to approve amendment, number 2 to the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement, Financial Project 436767-1-94-22, and adoption of the resolution.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, saying aye.
Hey, everybody, it's Melanie, thank you.
Okay. Rule 28, the board to consider approval for FAA Wildlife Hazard Management Grant application and task order for the Perry Foley Airport is agendaed by the grant writer. Who's running out there on that airport, Melanie?
Yes, it's for, animal mitigation, wildlife mitigation, plans to mitigate wildlife that encroaches upon the runway.
Okay, what we going to install a fence around it, electric wires or what?
This is
$85,000?
what the management plan comes up with, but I will tell you that we've made tremendous improvement the last few years by cutting the trees. That was one of the things that FDOT had really pushed, because the trees draw in more birds. And the same with the hayfield, they were actually a little bit relieved that we put doing hayfield, because we continued cutting brought in more birds too, which is very dangerous with aircraft. The project's 90% FAA funded, 10% FDOT funded, and then
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, saying aye. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. County attorney items. Discussion, number 29.
Yes, sir. We were doing a little side, she's checking my cycling. When you did the tax exemption, okay, the folks that presented it were not happy with the decision.
Okay.
So what they filed is a petition for a writ of certiorari, and that's an appeal. Now, the process that happens with that is they file this petition for writ of certiorari, and the judge looks at it and looks to see if it's sufficient. If it's sufficient, and the judge decides that we as the county need to respond to it, then we respond to it, and then we have a hearing on it. I don't know whether the judge is going to determine whether it's sufficient or not. What I'd like to do is have Mr. Tommy Reeves assist me on this if we have to do it, because he's an appellate court expert. And if y'all recall, he helped us on the case where we did the foreclosure, where we were very, very successful with regard to that part, and I have the ultimate respect to him. He's, like I said, he's board certified. It's not that I can't do it alone, but I just like to have a little bit of help with it. So I would like, if y'all get any motions, get a hold of Tommy and see if he can help us with it.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Got Mr. Tummy.
I thank you.
County administrative items.
As you can see in your packets, there was a letter sent to the adjacent landowner of what we call the smaller of the two lots on Marina Road and Keaton Beach. And he has reached out, and number one, my first request would be that we stop the clock. They have 10 days to respond to the letter, the way it's written in the letter, contingent upon your answer. And his question, or their question is, if the board will require the appraisal amount at $58,000. And he's asked for a decision prior to submitting a bid.
We done the first one like that, the second should be signed out.
So, I'll need board action on requiring the $58,000 as the minimum bid, and then I would like to restart the clock at 10 days to give them time to respond to this board action.
Make a motion to require minimum 58,000.
And y'all understand, he's the only one can bid on it. Is that what
Is that right?
He has the first option.
He has the first
Oh,
option.
yes, first option.
Right.
First option. And then if you don't, then we do different stuff.
That one next, that's the lot next to his house?
That's the smaller of the two lots adjacent to this one.
All right, did I get a motion?
you got a motion, I'll second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor, saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
The election, I've got the results. The person that y'all voted on is Jan Walker. And I've got the tally here, and I've got all the ballots here. It's open to the public. If you'll want to check my math, that's fine, you know? But Madam Clerk assisted me and checked it. I think you said I was okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Jan Walker.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, saying aye. Thank you, Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Comments and concerns for the public for non-agenda items. This is a part of our agenda. The public can participate. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Your name?
My name is Jim Zerbrick. I live in Steinhatchee. I got a whole laundry, I left my notes over here. Mike Williams is probably going to sound off just with a lot of things I'm saying. I won't be here for the next commission meeting. And I know you guys are going to be looking forward to some direction on First Avenue paving. There's going to be some issues that Kenneth is probably going to come to you with about speed limits, meeting the grant requirements, you know, for funding. We want to keep our golf cart designation. And with everything that's happening in Steinhatchee with the dollar store, the school, it's on the main drag. 25 miles an hour and a golf cart designation serves our community well, especially price of fuel. And there are people, my wife reminded me of it, we know 4 or 5 people don't even have cars. And it's the golf cart is what they have. They're not having mules and the gators and stuff. But, so we would like to see when we go forward, if there's a direction, which you all have to make a decision. The other thing is solid waste is gonna be coming up. Mr. Dempsey, we're out 2 pencils, my wife said, when I mentioned that I had 3 lots next to the landing, and I have 2 RVs on a lot. Okay? It's wrong that I'm only paying $46 a year for that kind of solid waste effort. I know it doesn't seem real, I mean, you're saying, what the heck's he doing? But I can get a dumpster. If we go to an individual rate of 100, whatever the survey says, or what you decide is a fair, so it's an even playing field, I might decide that you need to get a dumpster. And then I would, and commercial, because technically, isn't everybody who rents some RV spots somewhat a commercial deal? We haven't really looked at it that way. But, and I'm not looking to open up that can of worms necessarily, but I am up for paying. If it turns out to be more, I just think it's right. And also, I didn't know that we could even really talk about what's going on with the lawsuit of Dead Man's Bed. But I remember the history. I mean, I was at all the planning and zoning boards because I was really very active in that height requirement. And when they came for that height, the zoning and planning board denied them their variances for their setback and their height. And they appealed it to the Board of County Commissioners. I think we've been very generous with the folks down there. And I think this commission can hold their head high. I think that that was a very generous, personally. I think it was generous. And then now, because I live in that town, I've been told that if I step on the property because of what I said, they get a trespass order against me. And I'm probably not the only one. So we don't want to see it go here. I'm surprised that they're doing this. I really am shocked that they're digging this hole with, not that I don't know, digging with the county, but with me and other people. But we want a good relationship going forward. But I know that Mr. Dudley has been emphatic that they have to put some safety requirements in. When you go around that curve at Roy's now, you can imagine with the boat ramp in the marina, we have to have some safety items, the islands in the road. And what I understand, they're digging their feet in. So maybe that's just hearsay, but I am very well connected with some of the folks that work there. And this is going to get ugly. I hope not. But, and I thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike Williams, King Hatchie. The golf carts, we want to keep them. We want to keep that main road, our main drag open for the golf carts. And if it has to go down to 10 miles an hour, let it. That's all they'll say about that one. Okay. The garbage, 100% agreement. I own a lot with RV on it. I pay my $140 a year on that. I didn't even know you could go only pay $40 on it. But I think everybody, if you've got an RV and it's hooked to anything, water, sewer, whatever, electric, you need to be paying for the garbage services.
We're working it in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's fair for everybody.
I think that's true.
One more thing. The bridge on Granger. Me and my wife are the only ones that live on Granger. There's no need in spending our money on that bridge. It's good just like it is with the carts being able to go through there and people having a walking path. But I don't think we need to spend our money down there. Let's put it towards something else. And I know we might have a grant already on it. Put that money towards something else.
So if it's able to sustain golf cart traffic and pedestrian traffic,
It's fine.
that would be.
There's nothing wrong with it like it is. Yeah, like, we're the only ones that live on that road. You got Tall Smoke on the left, but he's on this side of the circle. And you got Tom and Marcia up on this side, up on the hill, all the way up the intersection. So don't waste our money on that. Let's put it towards something else. And people say it's a safety issue. Not really. Because when we go around, we know it's coming, we take everybody's garden hose and tile, their furniture up, and then we head to the hill. So it's not a safety issue down there. That's it. Thank y'all.
Board information item. Commissioner No. Mr. P.
No, just an honor and a privilege for me to serve.
Commissioner Moore.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Need the chair?
Motion to adjourn.
Big time, because he did